like to kick his ass just once.
I'm telling you straight. It's my way or the highway. So anybody wants to walk, do it now.
Well, it's a well-known fact, Sonny Jim, that there's a secret society of the 5 wealthiest people in the world, known as the Pentaverate, who run everything in the world, including the newspapers, and meet tri-annually at a secret country mansion in Colorado known as the Meadows.
So who's in this Pentaverate?
The Queen, the Vatican, the Gettys, the Rothschilds, and Colonel Sanders before he went tits up.
It's not Irish. It's not English.
Oh, yeah. Well, what if I can't? It's with horses, you know?
It's just, well, it's just pikey.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I'd like to kick his ass just once.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
Wah, wah, wee, wah!
That was really cool, by the way.
A lot of very bad things are happening in Nicaragua.
Wildlife, refuges, I mean, you look at this, you look at what we do with our wildlife.
I never thought anybody could forget so much so fast without a severe blow to the head.
Medicine and medical and what we're doing. Soup for my family. That's amazing. How did you do that?
Knife. Knife. Not thrilling, knife. Every minute you don't tell us why you're here, I cut off a finger.
Oh, mine or yours?
Yours.
Crap. Damn.
And of course, my headphones die right as I'm starting it. So.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
What's happening? Happy people. All right, that was the end of the song. That's I need a fade out on that thing to make it look. Sorry about the hat, but my hair is literally like completely slicked back from being in a series of wigs and costumes. I'm a mess. like, this is how seriously I'm taking this nonsense. Like, there's some comedy happening over here. I'm just saying, I'm gonna fall off the thing. I'm fine. Don't let me reach for something. All right, hold on. Everything is so stacked. Comedy jokes. Yeah, there's a puppet. It's full on. See him? Everything's a mess. No, that's why, because that's rigged up. Hello. I'm not against a pratfall. Hi, everybody. Hello. And I'm glad you're catching the beginning. Good to see you. How's everybody doing? How you feeling? Woohoo! Cut my hair and shaved monk style. Oh, he's completely... That's awesome. Digging the hat? Well, thank you. I'm only doing it because my hair is completely just whoop. About to sing, I got the horse right here. My name is Paul Revere. Right. Oh, there's puppets. There's craziness. Yeah. This room is ridiculously hot right now, too. So, on top of that, all right. So shall we? And Jennifer on Facebook. I'm glad you're actually catching the beginning of the show. That's amazing. I feel very lucky that you guys actually made it here. I feel lucky that I made it. I'm just amazed that I made it here. Today will be relatively high and tight. Oh, there you go. Oh, and I've got to bring up my. Let me give me 1 second to bring up the actual visual that will go right there. Give me a second. This is, Trump is to some degree, I suppose, just competing with the DNC to some degree. I mean, he's mad that they're going to be having hearings about the Postal Service during the RNC, which, I mean, obviously there's an easy fix for that, which is don't fuck up the Postal Service before an election, and there would be no need for hearings, as you do. Plus, if I wasn't in the middle of doing all the sexy liberal sketches and stuff that I have to turn in by tomorrow night, and burning myself to, I'm basically, my motto these days is burn the candle at both ends and try to light the middle. And, but I'm still having a show for you because you are my moment of sanity during the day where I can just kind of bring a cohesion to the craziness that is my life currently and have a show in here. So yeah, it's how you doing, ma'am? So I had a cowboy hat on, but it was just overwhelming. So this will have to do. Literally, my hair is like, it's just nuts. So I'm just getting it out of my face because it was literally, because it's so straight that from getting all slicked back that it just kind of lays over my face this far, like the bangs go out that far. And they just kind of dangle in pokey land. Ladies will know what I'm talking about. Some long-haired dudes, when it starts to curl under and it gets right at like iris length. Yeah, going for the Portland look. I'm not setting anything on fire, but pretty close. I could run a coffee shop dressed like this. This is clear. Thanks, Alan. You are awesome as well. And welcome, everyone, to twitch.tv/HalSparks or Hal Sparks Live, where you can go to donate to the channel. That's really easy now. HalSparks.live. That's the Streamlabs Twitch show. And then, of course, you can always freeload at Facebook and Periscope if you want to hang out over there. Totally fine. Don't have a problem with that, ish. Except that I have to open up an entire other chat room, which I am wont to do. So I've got to do that right now. Apologize for not having that open earlier, but like I said, I'm in the middle of production and I'm doing all this by myself. So the world is crazy around me. So I'm not quite sure. You may be seeing the last little bits of my sanity in this regard. Judy, thank you for wearing a mask, even in the chat. I appreciate that on Facebook. 2020 is a good year to boycott 45. Exactly. I think we're all, by the way, today's stream is brought to you by Goodyear Tires. That's right, Goodyear, a company formed in Akron, Ohio in 1855 and has been around in an American institution for a very long time. Unlike Michelin tires, which I believe are French. Michelin, oui, something like that. And American company, American goods, Just throwing that out there. And, but all because you can't wear a political campaigns hat at work. The president is trying to shut down an American company because they can't wear campaign gear at work. So, buy American unless they are disloyal to the president, I guess is what we're going with. All right, sure, why not? Yes, House Park's public dick. Yes, I would be a private one, but I have to get a special license for that. Whose stock took a dive when he announced his MAGA hat wine? I'm curious. That's a good question. Has anybody checked Robinhood today on, let's see, pull up my trusty Robinhood and see, to take a crap. I don't have any stock in Goodyear. I want to see if it went up or down. Goodyear, there it is, GT. What did it go? It went down 23 cents today and up 7 cents after hours. So a bunch of swing traders decided to get in there at the last minute. It basically recovered a third of its losses. Current stock is at $9.57. 52-week low was $4.09. 52-week high is $17. So if Goodyear just recovers what they're worth, they'll be almost double where they are right now. That's not stock advice. I'm just saying that there's no reason for the company to have lost, any kind of genuine holding. It's not like they've done less work. 10 stock analysts ratings have it as a hold. 80% say hold, 20% say buy. Nobody says sell your Goodyear stock. So that should be an indication of that. That's your stock weather report for that. If anybody wants, I'll put my Robinhood link on my Twitter, and you guys can sign up and look at it. And if you buy a stock, I get a nickel or something. I'll probably try that, but it's not quite a fedora, Andrea. It's one of these little short brim suckers. Very 90s, but it was sitting around, and the cowboy hat literally took up most of the frame. I was worried that the lip, I'm not kidding. Here, I'll show you. Hold on. The lip of the cowboy hat that I have is like, this sucker is so serious that it would like go out of if I wore it and leaned at all, it would go out of the range of my green screen. So I went with the small hat. There you go. The little one. Thanks for the hype train, everybody. Joining in over at twitch.tv/HalSparks or at halsparks.live. Whew. Man. All right, shall we jump into this and get on? Because I got to get through this. And Trump just lost his retainer as the Goodyear blimp. Right. He's never going to get hired to do that again. But we'll see. I need to stick have a press label right here. That's a great idea. I'll do that when I put myself in one of the empty chairs when they do reverse angles. I gotta develop that shot. I gotta see if I can make that happen. So, there we go. All right, let's start this. He's gonna walk in, by the way. I'm convinced, by the way, that they only take lots of pictures like that of him walking in on the off chance that he trips and falls and they don't want to miss it, or he opens his mouth like he's doing right now and just makes this big, odd face at John Roberts. Or he burps, I suppose. He might have just done a silent but violent as he walked in.
Thank you very much.
Sleepy Don is back. Dopey Don. Dumbo Don. Drag-ass Don is up.
Before I provide an update on our continued progress against the China virus, I'd like to discuss our latest actions against the Iranian regime.
Great. Yeah, because that's what I was worried about. Here I was concerned that there were, 206,000 dead Americans.
Today I'm directing the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, to notify the UN Security Council that the United States intends to restore virtually all of the previously suspended United Nations sanctions on Iran. It's a snapback.
Why? Snapback. Like the Chinese hats he sells with MAGA on the front.
Not uncommon.
Yeah, just unexplained, very weird. They're literally in a situation where they're down because of the virus largely. Lots of their people are getting killed. The citizenry are, being strangled right now. So why? Let's find out.
2 years ago,
I'll turn him up. Hold on. Sorry. 2 years ago, I did this thing, and I've got 3 months left in my only term as president. So I owe my evangelicals something.
withdrew the United States from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal, which was a product of the Obama-Biden foreign policy failure, a failure like few people have seen in terms of the amount of money we paid for absolutely nothing and a short-term deal.
Yeah, all we got was inspections and them to stop pursuing a weapon, and now they have no reason not to pursue a weapon and get all the stuff from Russia because we've shut them off, and with the sanctions entirely, and with him not tightening any sanctions on Russia because they're outside of the circle of sanctions as far as we can control, they'll just backdoor supply them with all kinds of nukes and shit. Great.
This deal funneled tens of billions of dollars to Iran, 150 billion to be exact,
It was their money, we just released it to them,
plus 1.8 billion in cash,
which was also theirs and being held.
which I don't know that the president had the authority to give.
He did. He didn't give it to them. It was their money. The longer we held it, because we were in violation of international law and those sanctions, the more interest we would pay on that over time.
Gave 1.8
So to avoid paying the interest, we just gave it back, let them spend it, and now look where they are.
billion in cash. Just another great deal that turned out to be a total disaster.
We're talking about the Obama administration. I thought for a second he had dovetailed into his own ability to negotiate.
That would have funded all of the chaos and the bloodshed and the terror in the region and all throughout the world.
All through the whole world, every piece of chaos you saw, from the streets of the Chechen rebels to the streets of Poland to pickpockets in London town, to Canadian soccer hooligans, to Brazilian people not showing up on time for Carnival, all of it caused by cash funneled through the Iranian regime. Thank God we have a president who wouldn't suck up to, say, like Kim Jong-un and let him funnel arms to the rest of the world.
And I won't say anything because I don't like saying it, but
I won't say anything, but I don't like saying it, but here I go.
Iran doesn't have so much money to give to the world anymore, to the terrorists, to give to Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, right. Basically, the strategy worked. You gave them the stuff. They had no leverage against anybody else. They spent it as soon as they had it because the sanctions had already put them over a barrel. They spent it on food, and they spent it on medicine, they spent it on infrastructure and all the shit you need for an actual country, and it's all gone. And we're not on the hook for it anymore, and we don't have to pay interest on it anymore. That was the point.
Various other groups of people that they were funding, they have to keep their own regime together, and it's not easy for them. And if and when I win the election, within the first month,
they're going to have a deal. I'm going to have a deal with them. Putin told me so. He's going to make them make a deal with me.
Iran will come to us, and they are going to be asking
yeah.
for a deal so quickly because they are doing very poorly. But that
what deal? What deal? Let us invade?
It was a disaster. $150 billion, $1.8 billion in cash.
Yeah, we know.
And we got nothing except a short-term little deal. A short-term, expiring. It's starting to expire already.
No, it isn't.
It's terminated, but it would have if we didn't.
He's so concerned about the short-term ramifications of the deal that he shortened it. See if you don't live up to your end of a deal, you're not going to be able to either engage in it anymore or extend it in any way. But why the shit, if you were, honest to God, and thank you, Jennifer, if you made a deal with this dude and then he scuttled it, why would you make another one? What in the world would make you trust that he would live up to his end? I mean, honestly.
Terminated.
Yeah, I'm not on YouTube currently. Apologies to everybody. I'm not on live anyways. I put the show up after the fact. Hi, YouTube, by the way. If you're watching this, you're watching it later because I got kicked off there with a copyright strike for a show 4 years ago from Universal Music Group under the name Universal Music Group. So, interestingly enough, I got knocked off until 6 days after the election. Isn't that weird?
Start to expire very shortly. A good deal was the deal we made with UAE and Israel.
Oh, yeah? How's that going right now?
And by the way, other countries.
You mean all those caricatures that are circulating all over the Middle East of Israel and the UAE eating popcorn while Palestinians and people in Gaza and people in Jordan and Egypt starve to death?
I will
that whole thing?
tell you now want to come into that deal. Countries that you wouldn't even believe want to come into that deal.
Yeah, I don't believe. Why would they want to come into that deal? What does that even mean? What's the deal? What deal?
And all of a sudden, you're going to have peace in the Middle East. And you couldn't have done it with this ridiculous Iran nuclear deal, as they call it, that President Obama made, along with Sleepy Joe Biden.
Yeah, none of the stability that you're actually acting upon is possible without that stalling of their nuclear program. See, it's like he's standing on a platform, and then after he's done hanging the light bulb, he dismantles the platform and says he never needs it. Yeah, like the ladder is the problem.
I imposed the toughest ever sanctions on Iran, and this has caused great difficulty for them, giving money to terrorist organizations, and if they do, they'll have hell to pay. Earlier this year, I ordered...
This is super exciting, by the way. Don't you guys feel better?
The strike that took out the world's #1 terrorist, Qasem Soleimani.
He wasn't the #1 terrorist.
In addition to previously terminating leader and founder of ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. The two leading...
Where's my piece of paper that says what's going on? I'm so confused.
Terrorists by far in the world. The founder of ISIS, nobody even talks about that.
Yeah, because there's no founder of ISIS. It's a series of jihadists all together that joined a death cult together. The founder of ISIS. Did he write the Constitution? Was he the Thomas Jefferson of ISIS? Where's his Hamilton musical?
And we also defeated, we now have 100% of the ISIS caliphate in Syria.
Woo, you got the last 6%.
When I took over, it was a mess. It was a total mess.
Yeah, it was 96% gone, or 94% gone.
They were all over the place. My administration will not allow this
Thanks for subscribing.
Iran nuclear situation to go on. They will never have a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have. Mark it down. Mark it down.
What are you going to do? Bomb them? I mean, honestly, are you just going to straight bomb them? Is this the October surprise that Israel's going to launch a nuclear weapon on Iran? And we can't have an election right now. We're in the middle of backing our friend in Israel, and the UAE just signed on to being friends with them, so it'll create a cascading war through there.
Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. When the United States
happy birthday.
Entered into the
Nat.
Iran deal, it was clear that the United States would always have the right to restore the UN sanctions that will prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon.
And instead of doing that, we just scuttled the deal and pretended we never signed it and basically lowered our standing in the world if we ever want to make any kind of a deal with anybody in the future. Because why would they?
We paid a fortune for a failed concept and a failed policy, a policy that would have made it impossible to have peace in the Middle East.
Why? Why would it have made it impossible? They got their money. They spent their money. They don't have their money anymore. We have the upper hand. We have the largest military times 6 in the entire world. You were able to make your little UAE Israel memo largely because of the Iran deal having been in place.
Here at home,
What? Wait. Hold on.
Operation Legend, we
Hold on.
are
How did we go from that?
possible to have peace in the Middle East. Here at home,
Here a home. Here a home. Do I hear a home?
through Operation Legend, we are confronting the wave of crime in Democrat-run American cities. That's absolutely shocking. When you look at Portland or New York,
Yeah.
San Francisco, Seattle,
Terrible.
Chicago, sometimes Los Angeles, Democrat-run cities, they're a mess because
Yeah, they're also the biggest economies in the country.
they don't get it.
They don't get it. They don't understand why when you have the most people of any city in the world and of any city in the country, and you have the largest populations, the largest economies, you also have higher crime rates. It's amazing how New York has all that crime and Pork Knuckle, Montana has nearly none. When will they learn to run New York like Pork Knuckle?
Either they don't get it or there's something that nobody else understands. We've deployed more
Or I don't understand, but that's not possible, so it has to be someone else.
than 1,000
Yeah, Portland is fine.
additional federal agents to help these Democrat-run disasters. We just have done this. We have to give them a hand. And we can stop it immediately, like Portland would be so easy to stop, would stop.
You just open fire on the population, no warrants, no probable cause. Just if there's a crowd and there's like 4 people in it that throw shit, just open fire on the crowd. And then anybody who's still laying there, you shoot them or beat them to death. And then you have big bulldozers come through and just scoop the bodies up. And then you FEMA camp everyone, you know, for America.
Immediately, we only sent in some homeland people who are great, by the way, to save
Homeland? Is that a shoe line I'm not aware of? Homeland?
the courthouse because it would have been blown up or burned down.
What, well, which is it? What if it was cascadingly arsoned from the left? Blown up? Is it going to be blown up or burned down? I just need to know which way to look.
And they did that very easily. But if we were called upon, we would send in, whether it's Homeland, whether it's FBI, whether it's
Homeland. Ew, Homeland. I wonder if Martha knows about the plasma at Homeland.
just law enforcement, and we'd send them in quickly. We would eradicate.
Yeah, you sent them in. Things got worse. They left. They've started to settle. There's assholes in Portland. They get arrested. That shit goes on all the time. And
Just like happened in Minneapolis. As soon as they were called in, they should have been called in a lot
knife through butter. Are we doing this one
sooner.
again?
You would have had far less damage.
What damn is Minneapolis a complete crater now? Did they burn down Paisley Park? Can we still go see the Prince tribute show every year on his birthday?
We announced that Operation Legend has successfully resulted in nearly 1,500 arrests already. Bad ones, really bad.
Bad arrests? What, did they not read a Miranda and forgot to clean up the evidence? And they're like, dude, who peed on the knife? Ah, sorry, it was a bad arrest. I don't know what I was.
People, prosecutions and
Whose gun is this? Is this the murder weapon? No, I think that's mine. What color is it? It's black. Was it dirty or not? I don't know. Let me see. Don't get your fingerprints all over it. This is a terrible arrest. These are bad arrests, let me tell you.
prison sentences will follow, and they'll be very long time in prison for what
You think if it's murder, you're pretty... You think everybody else has been lenient with the murderers, have they?
they've done to these cities. Most cities are well run. Most of the nation is well run, and the
red states all live off the tit of these giant Democrat-run cities that have the largest populations and the largest economies and pay the most in federal taxes. Tell me about how Tennessee wouldn't exist if it weren't for the taxes that come out of Chicago.
Areas that we're talking about are all, in all cases, run by Democrats, usually radical left-leaning Democrats.
How do you lean radical left? I mean, honestly, if you're a radical, aren't you? Ah! How do you lean? You know, I lean anarchist. You know what I mean? I just I've been on the fence, you know. But yeah, exactly. You have to be on a skateboard. That's true.
Like in New York or in Portland.
Am I frozen? What's happening?
We've made arrests in Kansas City, Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Memphis, and Albuquerque.
Really? You mean where crime happens? You mean police and fire departments and shit like that haven't ceased to exist? What? I'm not even quite sure what we're supposed to be experiencing. What's the alternative?
For many violent...
You mean the U.S. Marshals and the DEA and the ATF haven't just stopped doing their job?
Crimes including gun crimes, arson, and 91
stand-up state
murders. We're also using the full power of the federal government.
Really? You're not in second gear?
To defeat.
Because you sound like you're in second gear. I'm just saying, and not even revving to get to third. I think you're like comfortably laying back into second. Maybe should even downshift into first so you don't flood it.
As you know,
dude, this guy is talking about Iran, terrorism, billions of dollars, murder, arson, domestic terrorism, police raids and arrests, and he sounds like he's giving a lecture at an insurance firm about how they're backing down from their normal actuarial expectations to a more mitigated zone for the third quarter, just to maximize, minimize the amount of paper they use. Jesus.
China virus. New cases have declined in...
Wait, we're all over the map right now. So we went to Iran to, you've arrested 1,000 people for 98 murders, to, did he say like 980 shootings or murders? What is it? And now we're going to China virus. We hit China virus on that. We kind of board checked it on the way in.
80% of the jurisdictions in the past week. 80%. New Zealand, by the way, had a big outbreak.
Wait, don't bring New Zealand into this, because, excuse me, asshole, 3 days ago you said 86% of American precincts have gone down in numbers or have stabilized. 6%. What 6% of these districts, the number of districts going down shrunk by a insignificant statistical amount. And by the way, we have no idea when he says these districts or whatever, or counties even, like when he says, 80 to 86%, well, the 6% of the counties doesn't talk about population at all. So these 6% counties that he's talking about that, apparently have gone up could be, the county that holds Rabbit Hash, Kentucky, or it could be, a county in Connecticut that, has 3 million people in it.
Countries that were held up to try and...
No, we're not averaging 1,000 infections a day. We're averaging 1,000 deaths a day. We had 1,300 dead yesterday.
Make us look not as good as we should look, because we've done an incredible job, but...
What? Hold on. I was so busy trying to make sense of the last bullshit.
In the past week, 80%. New Zealand, by the way, had a big outbreak.
No, they didn't. They had like 14 cases or 101 cases, and they isolated them.
Other countries that were held up to try and make us look not as good as we should look, because we've done an incredible job, but they're having a lot of outbreaks, but they'll be able to put them out, and we put them out.
Oh, yeah? Because they've got 101 cases, not 101 deaths. They've got no deaths. Understand, New Zealand had like 100, I think it was 101, like 14, hospitalizations. And of the 101, none of them died. None of them are going to die.
The hospitalization rate has fallen in our country, 54% since its peak
6 cases yesterday in New Zealand, right. Meanwhile, we've got 1,300 deaths yesterday.
in April, 54%. Older Americans are still the most vulnerable to the virus. 92% of deaths have occurred among those 55 and older. Only 2.7% of deaths have occurred among those 44 years. Think of that, 44 years and younger, so 44.
So yeah, if you're 44 or older, that's now the line. Hey, and it's not like there are people in their mid-40s to 60 who have businesses or families or children or run a service or drive a truck or, I mean, basically people are retired at 44, aren't they?
Years old and younger, only 2.7% of deaths have occurred. And many of those people had pre-existing conditions, they had problems, heart, diabetes, and other problems.
They had heart. That's the problem with these people. They have heart. It's all these bleeding heart liberals. Their hearts are bleeding all over the place.
Many of those. So think of that, only 2.7% under 44 years of age. Excess mortality in Europe this year is 33% higher than the United States. Evidence that the tragic cost of this virus
All European countries combined?
is higher in other Western nations. South Korea, you've been reading about South Korea doing well. Well, they just had a very big breakout, but they'll be able to solve the problem.
Yeah, because they're not getting anywhere near the deaths. They've got a much better... Francis, can I get a birthday shout out to Michael, my better half? Happy birthday, Michael. Happy birthday, Michael. Good on you for choosing Francie. That's a good gift.
We must all remain vigilant and continue to exercise extreme caution around those at highest risk.
Yeah, it's a feckin' lie. It's right, Billy Gray.
As we know, multiple colleges and universities announced that they would suspend in-person teaching. Now, we have learned one thing. There's nothing like campus. There's nothing like being with the teacher as opposed to being on a computer board.
A computer board. Everybody got their computer board right now? My computer's bored right now, listening to this asshole drone on. Computer board. That goes up with, like, intertubes.
It's been proven a lot better. It's a lot.
Yeah, definitely being in class is better than a computer board. It's like a surfboard that you can do math on. Computer board. What? Yeah, it's like an Etch-a-Sketch that costs $800.
Better. The iPads are wonderful, but you're not going to learn the same way you do by being there. So,
really, is that what he calls an iPad? Hand me the computer board.
nevertheless, certain colleges and universities have announced that they would suspend the in-person teaching. For older people and individuals with underlying conditions, the China virus is very dangerous, but for university students, the likelihood of severe illness is less than or equal to the risk of a seasonal flu.
A seasonal flu. The occasional person. I caught the seasonal flu last year. Luckily, there weren't that many of them. Seasonal flu. Computer board. Tell me again how it's Biden that's slipping. The seasonal flu.
Seasonal flu.
Okay, good. Fix it.
And the seasonal flu happens and comes and it goes, and it can be very bad, but people don't talk about it in the same way, and they shouldn't.
Okay. All right. That settles it. What the shit? All right. I will give you credit for saying seasonal flu and then checking, okay, I said seasonal flu. I got to say it twice so people don't think I meant to say seasonal flu. And then you got to make sure people know that it's flu and not few, you digress into a little sub-story to cover your ass. And that's it? That's the
flu happens, and
yeah, this is the story.
then or equal to the risk of a seasonal flu.
Right. He's like,
And the seasonal
yeah, tell us about the seasonal flu.
flu happens and comes and it goes, and it can be very bad, but people don't talk about it in the same way, and
No.
they shouldn't.
No, what?
But if you look at that, the odds are less than or equal to. Instead of saving lives,
Less than or equal to what? What?
the
What?
decision to close
Less than or equal to what? Less than or equal to what? The seasonal few? Okay, this is embarrassing. This is holy smokes. Guys, I mean, honestly.
To be a moron. To be moronical. An imbecile. Like the dumbest motherfucker that ever lived.
universities could cost lives. It is significantly safer for students to live with other young people than to go home and spread the
And spread the virus to their parents?
virus to older Americans. Make sense?
Yeah, because older Americans don't live running businesses in college towns where college kids from all over the goddamn country will gaggle together and bring it. What are you talking about?
And the shutdown thing is causing tremendous depression for those places that are still shut down. You look at certain areas that, in all cases, Democrat run, still shut down.
What? How did this go? What?
And the number
80% of cases in Ireland are under 45, which shows the demographic, also the age groups that are spreading the virus. Absolutely. They're the ones that carry it around.
aren't even good. But
Thanks. Thanks, Rafa for Lakers.
causing
Thanks, Francie, for the bits. Thank you, Frank and Smithberry,
tremendous
for the sub.
depression, suicide, drugs, alcohol, abuse. A lot of problems are being caused.
Yeah. People are running out of dildos. I mean, what do you do?
Probably far more, I would say, Scott, than is caused by the virus itself, now that we understand the virus.
Oh, okay. So really the epidemic in this country is the people dying because they're killing themselves or taking, drinking and, now, I mean, I guess there's certainly statistics that point to prolonged economic catastrophe causes these kind of things, but I don't know why we would have a prolonged economic catastrophe because according to this guy, we're doing better than we did before the pandemic. He's trying to make, like, allowing COVID to run roughshod over the entire country look like it was part of his strategy.
Colleges.
I was like, what would make the economy even better? Pretty much topped it out. And then I was like, maybe if we just kill off a couple 100,000 of the weakest among us and give everybody drive to start again. A 3-month forced vacation.
Should take reasonable precautions. Students who feel sick should not attend class and should limit social interaction.
What kind of sickness are we talking? I mean, COVID, obviously, but any other sicknesses I should be aware of? You know, if you have a, an odd fetish?
As they would for any other illness and university.
Any other illness? I can't come to class today. Why? Athlete's foot. It's rough. Why don't you put some shoes on? No. I have to walk around barefoot whenever I have it, and I'm worried that I'll give it to everyone else. Why would you give it? They're wearing shoes. No, I mean I rub my feet on people's faces. It's a fetish I have. I have a double sickness.
City should implement measures to protect the high risk.
Yes, and hangovers do count. Crabs do not count. That is the one exclusion. Otherwise, all colleges would cease to function.
Students or professors and teachers. The ultimate goal of testing is to prevent transmission in high-risk settings and to prevent transmission, period, but especially in nursing homes and to care for the vulnerable and
Somebody just coughed or sneezed or both. It sounded like a combo.
Elderly, which really fit into that definition of who is vulnerable. We have tremendous
How do we have any statistical analysis on slow readers? Because I'm concerned about the president's health at this point. Obviously, we know it can stay on surfaces for a good long while. What if you read with your finger? I'm just saying, this is dangerous. We're watching a man on a tightrope right now. I can't stop lying.
testing capacity.
Hey, Carl. By the way, Carl, in the chat on Twitch, I just added you as a friend. Add me back, and I'll have you be able to mod over there if you want. So, yeah, spread the love around.
We have a tremendous unused testing capacity.
Can we get someone literate to read this shit? No. Because it's illiterate shit. That's the problem. Is that he's reading it correctly. It's just gibberish on the paper, too.
Something that'll...
Yes, bone spurs is the reason you can avoid class, but only if you can afford to pay someone to go for you and take your test.
Of other nations are very impressed.
If Joe Shapiro is not available, you have to go to class and cough on your classmates.
What they tell us. In our path forward, we will continue to follow a science-based approach to protecting the high risk while enabling healthy Americans to save.
To protecting the high risk? To protecting the high risk. Really? Really?
To protecting the high risk while the nations are very impressed with, they tell us.
Mm-hmm.
In our path forward, we will continue to follow a science-based approach to protecting the high risk while enabling healthy Americans to safely go back to
protecting the high risk while enabling
work and school.
Okay.
Our country will be open. Our country is getting open quickly. Our stock markets are almost back to where they were prior to the China virus disaster coming in. And I want to thank you all for being here, and we'll take some questions. Yeah, please.
Some questions.
During the pandemic, the QAnon movement appears to be gaining a lot of followers. Can you talk about what you think about that and what you have to say to people who are following this movement right now?
Yes.
Well, I don't know much about the movement.
Uh-huh. Well, then, that's never stopped you before. You didn't know shit about the Iran deal, and you just scuttled it.
Other than I understand they like me very much.
Do they? For the record, the QAnon folks believe that Donald Trump and James Comey are working together on the sly, that the whole Comey thing of him being a jackass and Mueller and all that, Mueller and Comey are actually using the whole Russia thing as cover for indictments against, because all the sealed indictments turned out to be about his people, that it was really a deep state weeding out thing, that they haven't, because they never filed an indictment against him. It's because there were all these deep state operative lizard people that they're pulled out. So he and Comey are buddies, actually. It was all a big show. All tall guys hang out together. I don't know if they have a rumor about Comey being Barron's real father because of the height thing, but I wouldn't put it past him. I personally don't believe it. They believe that. They believe that he and Comey are working together. And the QAnons also believe that John F. Kennedy Jr., who did not crash his plane, did not die, he's been working as an underground pedophile fighting agent for the government with Donald Trump. And he shows up at Trump's rallies in makeup, looking like this bloated Jimmy Buffett fan who's one of the hangers that's out there, and they have pictures, I'm not kidding, lining up that dude's teeth with John's teeth, saying, look at the physical. Okay. But please tell us how much they like you. That's like me saying, well, I don't know, okay, I'm not going to go into ex relationships of crazy people and go, well, she liked me. I mean, I wouldn't let her in your house, but she certainly liked me.
Which I appreciate, but I don't know much about the movement. I have heard that it is gaining in popularity, and from what I've heard, these are people that when they watch the streets of Portland, when they watch what happened in New York City in just the last 6 or 7 months, but this was starting even 4 years ago when I came here. Almost 4 years, can you believe it?
Yeah, I can believe it. It seems like 8 or 20, but...
These are people that don't like seeing what's going on in places like Portland and places like Chicago and New York and other...
They don't give a shit about that stuff. The QAnons don't give a fuck about riots. Nothing. They don't care about that stuff. They think that Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton ate a baby. I mean, honestly.
I'm dead sexy.
I don't know how many, like, they honestly think that, you know, maybe Donald Trump is fat bastard. And, yeah.
Cities and states. And I've heard these are people that love our country and they just don't.
Okay, so you've heard, I don't know much about the movement. But I've heard there are people who love our country and don't like what's going on in these cities. You know what they don't like what's going on in these cities? Is lizard people baby fuckers. That's what they think is happening.
Like say,
yes, they think Huma Abedin is a dingo from Australia.
So I don't know really anything about it other than they do supposedly like me, and they also would
well,
like...
why wouldn't they like you? I mean, they spent their life looking for pedophiles and people who hang out with pedophiles, and you have 3 pedophiles on speed dial. This asshole was buddies with Jeffrey Epstein and specifically wished Ghislaine Maxwell well, and Ghislaine Maxwell was in charge of turning out children. That was her role in Epstein's life. He was like, her boyfriend died. It wasn't her boyfriend. She slept with a bunch of people, apparently, rich and famous people. That was one of her kicks. But they hung out together because they were like 2 serial killers who'd met on a message board. They weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. Ghislaine Maxwell very well may have introduced him to Melania. How is it? I don't understand the Q people who are there. Because here's the thing. If you hate pedophiles and you're against them and you think they're out there, I have a soft spot in my heart for you guys, believing that and wanting good. Because at the very least, you're anti-pedophile, which is a good thing. It's a good place to come from. But the fact that you can fixate on some people that have no linkage to any of this stuff, except in your own kind of fart-sniffing psychosis. But this asshole can have 3 pedos on speed dial, Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Alan Dershowitz, who he, by the way, hired to represent him in the impeachment trial. Like there aren't enough lawyers in the country. You can't find another lawyer. You can't find another one. You had to pick the one dude who's named in 3 child sex charges. What? You couldn't find one other lawyer. What, am I supposed to buy that they're all undercover trying to stop this ring and they were pretending? Give me a break.
To see problems in these areas, like especially the areas that we're talking about, go away, because there's no reason the Democrats can't run a city. And if they can't, we will send in all of the federal, whether it's troops.
And you know every Q fan is listening right now. Thanks, Robert, for doing all of the 7 dirty words you can't say on television, right there.
Or law enforcement.
They believe that there are mole children under the earth. Mole, 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 mole. And mole children underground, and 35,000 were recently saved. They do know that 800 children were separated within the first year from their families coming across the border, and 200 just disappeared. And they have no plan to track them. It would be one thing, it would like, oh my God, there's all these deep state pedophiles in there. We had this system set up when these separated kids, and somebody went in there and hacked the machine, and 200 kids disappeared. These assholes never had a system to track them. Like it's like they meant to make these kids go away. This is so weird.
Whatever they'd like, we'll send them in, we'll straighten out their problem in 24 hours or less, okay?
As long as their problem is they have too many underage children and they need to get rid of them. Like, this guy could be the child sniffer from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and all the Q people would go, it's probably, I think Dick Van Dyke is the problem.
Just real quick, at the crux of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind?
Well, I haven't heard that, but
I haven't heard that. I just heard that they love America and hate what's going on in Portland.
is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, you know, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to put myself out there. And we are, actually. We're saving the world from a radical left philosophy that will destroy this country. And when this country is gone, the rest of the world would follow.
Now, I'm just curious. It's hard to keep a meter on this. Where on the scale of leaning right or left is leaning baby eater?
The rest of the world would follow. That's the importance of this country. And when you look at some of the things that these...
Where we go one, we go all, you mean that kind of follow? Is that what we're talking about?
People are saying with defund the police and no borders, open borders, everybody just pour right into our country. No testing, no nothing. You know, you talk about testing.
Imagine there's no heaven.
No testing. Mexico.
No testing. What? What? You're the one who's saying most people think, testing is bad.
Has a very high rate of infection. The wall is now going to be next week 300 miles long. Our numbers are extraordinary on the border.
What?
And this is through luck, perhaps, more than talent, although the talent is getting it built when one party refuses to allow it. You don't hear talk about the wall anymore. But I will say this.
Yeah, because you lost the case and now you're funding it with DOD money for military families, and that's a court fight that's ongoing. This is so weird. Why you're wearing a Matt Drudge hat? Because I'm filming sketches and my hair's all slicked back. And when I try to push it forward to make it look normal, and it pokes me in the eyes. It's getting too long.
We need strength in our country, not weakness. Too much weakness. Yes, John.
Too much weakness. That's the problem.
Mr. President, you have been very bullish on the promise.
Is it called a God complex? Here's your proof. Yeah. Except I also think that he has this like dueling God complex, low self-esteem thing. It's so pitiable.
Convalescent plasma
to
treat coronavirus. The FDA appeared to be on the brink of issuing an emergency use authorization for convalescent plasma, but after hearing...
And then they said don't because the jury is still out.
From top officials at the NIH that there wasn't enough evidence to go ahead with that, the FDA has put that on pause. Your reaction to that, and do you believe that convalescent plasma should be in the arsenal of treatments for coronavirus?
Well, I hear great things about it, John. That's all I can tell you. And
I know that convalescent plasma just doesn't like what it's seeing in Chicago, and I haven't heard a lot about it. Now, is this satanic pedophile cannibal plasma, or
be a political decision? Because you have a lot of people over there that don't want to rush things because they want to do it after November 3rd, and
or they want to do it after they know if it's going to kill anyone.
That one before.
Because they did take an oath, first do no harm. So maybe they're not in a hurry to do some harm.
But I've heard fantastic things about convalescent plasma.
Oh, if you've heard it, then it must work. You heard it. You haven't heard anything about the QAnon people, but you heard that they were lovely people who love America. But gosh.
And
by the way, and some people are wondering in the chat about my own feelings about QAnon. I believe that all of the QAnon people are an underground satanic cult of baby-eating pedophiles that hate America and like what's going on in Portland. I heard that. I heard that thought in my own head, so it must be true. Yeah, everybody who's on a QAnon message board, it's all code for pedophiles. That's where the pedophiles go, you know? That's where they gather. That's why the where we go one, we go all thing or whatever, that's from an old, it was from White Squall, but apparently it was written on the chalkboard of a preschool in, you know, in that old satanic case a long time ago. It was written across the top of that, and that's where they got it from, because they hang out on 4chan and on the dark web, and they sell children. That's what I heard about the QAnon people, all of them, every single one of them. And no, we won't do them any harm or anything. I mean, they're sick people, I guess. You know, I don't want any violence to come upon them. I mean, I want them to go to jail, but I'm not expecting I mean, what am I going to do? I'm a comic wearing a silly hat right now. I can't do anything about it. I'm not the president right now. I don't have 3 pedophiles on speed dial. I don't know where they are at any given time. So I guess we're going to have to wait. I think the QAnon people are all going to be arrested on a special night. I've seen codes about this on the internet, that they're all going to get arrested on outstanding warrants because Herman Cain is going to land in a helicopter flown by, I think it's Osama bin Laden, who was always a CIA operative against the deep state QAnon pedo cabal. So he's going to be flying the helicopter. Herman Cain has arrest warrants for every person who's on a QAnon message board. It must be true. I heard it.
I've heard numbers way over 50% success.
I don't know, where were we in this bullshit? It's the same thing.
And people are dying.
I've heard numbers way over 50% in success. So what? Maybe you heard those from the initial tests, but the other tests coming back went, no, it's way below 50%. And that kind of efficacy gives people false hope. And they'll get that treatment, go out into public, and think they're free of the infection, and they'll get it and die. Now, I'm one of these people who thinks that bruise on his hand was because he got convalescent plasma. Sorry, plasma.
Should have it approved if it's good. And I'm hearing it's good. I heard from people at the FDA that it's good. So we'll see. I'm going to check that right.
Well, the FDA said, the FDA said, check, please.
After this conference.
My understanding that the White House will encourage the NIH.
Yeah, that's true. They'll all be killed with dihydrogen monoxide. Yeah, injected in them. QAnon good, Democrats bad. I know, that's basically the message.
The FDA to get this out there as quickly as...
I've heard that QAnon is funded by the money stolen by D.B. Cooper. Is that true? It must be true. I heard it.
The numbers are as good as I'm hearing. I mean, I'm hearing over 50%, and that's...
No, you didn't hear over 50%. And by the way, as a treatment goes, over 50% versus placebo, in a situation where we don't even know all the symptoms of this disease, and 80% of the people who get it are either asymptomatic or mild symptomatic, if they're given convalescent plasma to people, to people who are in the hospital that may have recovered on their own, you don't know what the efficacy is versus a placebo. That's why you do the test.
Very good.
Oh, it was Richard Nixon. Good point, Francie. Yeah, Richard Nixon is the one who's coming back to arrest all the QAnon people in a helicopter flown by Osama bin Laden. I'm sorry. I thought it was Herman Cain. That was my mistake.
We've approved certain things are at 31%, and that's okay, too. That's not bad, and it's really had a tremendous impact.
What? It depends what the... No, 31% of the time is not good, especially if 69% of the time, hello, it does something naughty.
No, I have, you're telling me...
I would like something that works 69% of the time.
Something right now that surprises me, but we'll check it out right after this.
Right after this? It's your FDA. You didn't hear that? I read that news story 2 days ago.
Right? I don't want to...
It's only the only thing on your plate right now.
Nice.
QAnon ate the Lindbergh baby? I always wondered what happened to it.
I don't want people dying. I don't want people dying.
Well, you want a cookie?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Mr. President, I want to ask you about your tweet earlier today on Goodyear. It was essentially calling for a boycott on Goodyear tires. Do you want the federal government to stop buying and using Goodyear product as well? And is there anything?
I'm not happy with Goodyear because what they're doing is playing politics. And the funny thing is the people that work for Goodyear, I can guarantee you, I poll very well with all of those great workers in Goodyear.
Good, then wear your campaign shit at home. Don't wear it on the job.
And when they say
MAGA is a registered trademark phrase of the Trump campaign. Black Lives Matter is a statement of purpose. Positive LGBTQ statements like pride stuff is not the same thing as a licensed product sold by a campaign.
That you can't have Blue Lives Matter, you can't show a blue line, you can't wear a MAGA hat.
You can wear a blue line hat, you just can't wear the Blue Lives Matter because it's considered contentious.
But you can have other things that are Marxist in nature.
Uh-oh, Marxists? Gay Marxists? Gay black Marxists? Oh, good Lord.
There's something wrong.
Do go on.
The top of Goodyear. And what the radical left does is they make it impossible for...
Here's what I would say. Don't wear any labels or product stuff at work. We're not promoting shit. Show up in work garb. That, by the way, I'll have you know, this is one of the reasons why businesses eventually developed uniforms. Like, we've fallen back from a lot of this shit, and we're very casual these days. But, societies used to have this shit. People would show up in things with words written on them to fight back against some particular thing, and it would cause fights at work, and they're like, Jesus Christ, we can't make anything. All right, everybody wears a blue friggin' shirt. That's how that stuff happens. I mean, it's why the police wear uniforms. It's honestly to stop this kind of shit. Leave your MAGA hat at home.
People to do business if they're Republican.
And by the way, I would argue leave your Black Lives Matter hat at home. Wear it as soon as the whistle blows when you're walking off site. If you can't communicate your ideas verbally on the job, wearing a placard is ridiculous. Get to work.
Or if they're conservative, they put out all sorts of effort. Don't shop there. They do vicious things. Not
so. Hold on. Swapping microphone. Sorry.
Different than what you saw on the streets of Portland 2 nights ago.
Yeah, streets are different than a job. Nobody has control over what people. That's public square, public speech. That's protected. On the job, people can enforce a certain, like a hard hat rule or a uniform rule. It's their business. And by the way, as a Republican, if you would like to set a rule that no one can create or maintain a standard for their workplace, try to get that past the business people of this country.
Boycott, do you envision?
I don't know. That's up to people, but I wouldn't recommend it if they want to hold.
There's Goodyear tires on your limo. They make the bulletproof tires that are on the Beast.
Political speech, if they want to let you not do what everybody's doing, if they want to wear.
That's a great sentence. If they want to let you not do what everyone's doing.
A MAGA hat, or if they want to wear a Blue Lives, you know what Blue Lives Matter, right? That's policemen and women. Mm-hmm. That's a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing. So they're using their power over these people, and these people.
Blue Lives Matter as wearing it as garb, as a hat or as a shirt or whatever, is an answer to and meant to denigrate the idea of Black Lives Matter as a phrase. It does not mean you support cops necessarily. It means you support cops at the expense of the Black Lives Matter phrase. I bet you anything you could wear a shirt that says support the police. Don't defund the police. I bet you could wear a no defund shirt. But the Blue Lives Matter is a fuck you to Black Lives Matter. That's why you wear it. So that's the fight that they're trying to start. One is based on race, the other is based on occupation. Now, I personally love cops. proud LE members of my family. I am not a big fan of the anti-cop sentiment that goes around, and I think you go after the bad cops, and you spend a good deal of time making sure people know what cops do every single day that protect every human being across this country. Period, end of story. That's how I feel. But I would wear something that supports the cops that isn't a Blue Lives Matter at the expense of Black Lives Matter.
Want to wear whatever it is that we're talking about. You know that. And so I would be very much in favor if people don't want to buy there. And you know what? They'll be able to get a good job because we set a jobs record over the last quarter, as you know. The most jobs.
Okay, here it comes. Here comes the insanity. 30 million people lost their jobs. 9 million people went back to work. This asshole thinks he's the job creator president.
Ever in the history of our country. You'll be able to get another good jobs. I think it's disgraceful.
You'll be able to get another good jobs.
That they did this. Please, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. President, you've said that the arrest of Jimmy Lai in Hong Kong is, quote, a terrible thing. Do you have a message for Jimmy Lai? Has your administration spoken directly with him? Is your State Department working for his release?
Well, I send him best wishes. I hear he's a wonderful gentleman. He's certainly a brave man, and I send him best wishes. With that being said, because of that and obviously what happened in Hong Kong, we've taken all of the vast amounts of money that we used to subsidize Hong Kong. We essentially subsidized Hong Kong by giving them all sorts of incentives. And that's what made Hong Kong, the exchange and business in Hong Kong successful. I've taken...
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Hong Kong was the financial seat of China for 100 years. That's what made it powerful. It's not new. As a matter of fact, mainland China is trying to move the financial seat from Hong Kong to Shanghai. But a lot of companies that do business around the world with China don't want to move their stuff from Hong Kong, which is off of the mainland and territorially and physically separate from the mainland, onto basically the center of the country, where they have a lot more difficult times doing trade and that kind of stuff through Shanghai itself. Is that easy for people to understand? Does he not know the history of the British rule of Hong Kong?
All back. That means that the United States is going to do a lot more business. You know, we really gave them tremendous incentive and subsidy in order that they be successful for freedom. But now that...
In order for them to be successful for freedom.
The freedom obviously seems to...
China didn't build the wall to keep everyone out. China built the wall to keep the Mongols out. But that was also before you had functioning ports of entry, and they had a lot of terrain that you could actually cross very easily. And also the people, it was the Han Chinese pushing the Mongols back in territory that was effectively theirs. I mean, it was effectively like the reminiscent. It was reminiscent of the war with Genghis Khan's hordes and the violence that, I mean, Genghis Khan's troops killed 1 million people in a day. I mean, they were a human nuke, what they were able to pull off. So a wall became increasingly necessary. And they didn't have drones.
Have been taken away. We will keep all of the incentives that we were giving them, which is billions and billions of dollars, and all of that business will come into our country, including the New York.
Why would the Hong Kong exchange transfer over here? First of all, most of the businesses, mainland Chinese businesses that are traded on the Hong Kong exchange, are completely untrustworthy. I mean, a good deal of them have no genuine financial foundation whatsoever. They're not going to pop over here. They're going to end up trading through Macau or Vietnam or off the exchange or through Russia or some nonsense.
Exchange and NASDAQ and...
They're not going to move over to here. And if they do, it'll undermine the quality and the stability of NASDAQ and the Dow. Dummy. I've been to the Great Wall of China. It's beautiful. It's worth going to. I highly recommend it.
Come here. But I feel badly for him because I hear he's a good person. I don't know him, but I hear he's a good person, obviously a very brave person. Did you have something? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. With the Iraqi Prime Minister coming in tomorrow, what about the Iraqi...
And again, this is this weird thing about him being, like his hearing has been going. Maybe it's all the helicopters. I don't know.
Prime Minister is coming in tomorrow to meet with you, and how do you feel about this notion that Iraq can once again become the buffer between Iranian influence and Russian influence in the Middle East? Do you feel that under this Prime Minister that's possible once again? What are your thoughts on it?
This is a man that I get along with very well.
No.
Largely out of Iraq. We're down to a very...
However, is it safe to buy from AliExpress? Just wondering. Yeah, for all practical purposes. I mean, if it's something you can't get here, knock yourself out for the time being. A lot of that's going to be shifting over the next couple of years, and Jack Ma dumped a shit ton of his stock in Alibaba recently, and it wasn't because of the economic downturn. It's because he's taking that money and building factories in Vietnam, Indonesia, South Korea, Taiwan under the table. That's a whole other ball of wax. But he's backing out of his, the money he's made in China, what he can get out. Insofar as Alibaba, he's getting out because I think it's registered on the U.S. stock market. So it's one of the, sound ones. He dumped a bunch of his stuff so that he could move production outside of China.
You soldiers,
you watch. Alibaba will exist, but it'll have a production thread that'll look like TPP.
These endless wars, these ridiculous endless wars. We should have never been there in the first place. I think it was the worst decision made in the history of our country. Should have never been there. In the Middle East, we should have never been. But we're getting out rapidly out of...
And we're taking the oil?
Over the course of 3 years. And getting out, it's very sticky getting out. And some people agree, and many people don't agree. But I think most people very much agree.
Did you guys get that? You guys, that was clear with everybody? I gotta run that back. What? Most people agree, and who agrees? I don't know who agrees. Do we know who agrees with what?
Years, in getting out, it's very sticky getting out.
It is very sticky. It's very gooey. And sand gets in the most ridiculous places. Sticky and okay, we know it's sticky. That we agree with. It's I would say it's more like thistle than sticky. You know what I mean? Like burrs all over you. But okay.
And some people agree, and many people don't agree. But I think most people very much agree.
Okay, good. All right, you guys got that? Okay, everybody got. Some people agree, other people don't agree, and most people do agree. Wait, what were we agreeing on? Shit.
We're doing very well in our negotiations with Afghanistan, with getting out. We're down to a much smaller number of people.
Yeah, our ceasefire fell apart.
Left there. And, I greet men and women coming home and coming home after they've been hit. I've also greeted many at Dover, greeted many bodies coming back in.
Yeah. By the way, now that you bring that up, what about the Russian bounties on our soldiers? Is somebody going to ask you that question? Are you going to answer that? Did you look into it since last time when you pretended not to know?
And we've been there.
Yeah. What about those bodies?
19 years, and we're basically policemen. We're acting as police as opposed to soldiers. And they're going to have to police their own states. And they've been doing that for thousands of years. But it's time after 19 years that our soldiers come home. They've done an...
Yeah, we're not policing their societies. We're trying to keep the groups that took root there, who launched via, Saudi Arabian money, attacks on the United States, in Afghanistan anyways. Iraq was a total boondoggle, but that's...
Incredible job, but,
By the way, that was a Republican Party. By the way, I think... I don't know if we're going to count the Cold War expenditures under Reagan, but the last two Republican presidents have spent $6 trillion on, Bush on the Iraq-Afghanistan war, and this guy on 8 weeks of COVID.
They're not allowed to fight to win, and...
No, they're not allowed to slaughter civilians. That's not the same thing, but you can't tell the difference.
And maybe they shouldn't be, because
That's leadership. They're not allowed to fight to win, and maybe they shouldn't be. Do you have to have both sides of every fucking thing? And by the way, does anybody remember the whole, like, John Kerry flip-flop stuff? Because he fought in Vietnam and then he was against it? And the people holding up, wearing purple Band-Aids to mock the fact that he got a Purple Heart in Vietnam, while all those people lined up to Rusty Trombone this deserter?
the people, not their fault, but with the Taliban and with going to Iraq again, we're down in Afghanistan, very low numbers, and that'll be taking place.
Equal numbers to when you came in. It was at 15, you went down to 8 based on the pullback that Obama had already put in place, and then we went back up to 14.
And I let them know, do anything and you'll be hit like you've never been hit before. So we're doing...
Which, we Moabbed them. It's a desert.
Very well, Syria, the same thing.
What are you going to do? Bomb them from the Bronze Age to the Stone Age?
You remember when I took all of the soldiers off of the border between Syria and Turkey, right?
Yeah, right, where the Kurds were murdered after helping us.
And everybody said, oh, that was 2 years ago. It was a long time ago. They said, oh.
Yeah. Kurds got murdered, and the Russians have one of our bases.
This is terrible, terrible.
It is terrible.
Terrible. We're going to leave.
It was terrible.
Why do we have our soldiers between Syria and Turkey? Turkey can definitely take care of itself.
We're not between Syria and Turkey. The Kurds were the issue. The Turks under Erdogan are in danger of being wiping out the Kurds.
Have a very good relationship with President Erdogan, and
yeah, right. That was the concern.
Syria.
The dude who let Jamal Khashoggi get put in a wood chipper.
He's been fighting forever. And I say, why are we guarding their border? And I brought our...
I don't know. Why did our troops get pulled from there and put in Saudi Arabia to stand guard around oil and gas processing facilities so the Houthi rebels in Yemen are less likely to bomb them because it would mean killing U.S. soldiers? They're there as human shields. Why are they there? Why is the Saudi government paying us to use our troops as human sandbags?
Soldiers back home. I got them out.
At least in Syria, they were fighting ISIS along with the Kurds and protecting the Kurds' lives from the Turks who were going to murder them. In Saudi Arabia, they're literally just a bulletproof vest waiting for a bullet.
And guess what? Nothing's happened. They've been fighting like they have been for
yeah, no, those people are just dead now.
1,000 years, okay? Nothing's happened. And nobody mentions that. Everybody said this...
The Russians have our base.
It's going to be a disaster. There's no disaster. Nothing's...
Yeah, they're dead.
...happened. And so we're getting out of the endless wars, and we are building a military...
How, 2004, which part?
The likes of which the world has never seen. $2.5 trillion we've spent.
We spent $6 trillion in the last 3 months.
And we hopefully don't ever have to use it. But we want to focus on a much bigger picture, because we have a much bigger picture. It's,
oh, yeah? What is
when
it?
you look at what China's doing, when you look at what Russia's doing, when you look at what some other countries are doing. We
what are they
want to
doing?
be ready just in case there is a catastrophe. We don't want to see that. We don't want to ever use it.
A catastrophe? You mean like them nuking us? Or them stationing subs off of what, DC? Because you believe everything Putin tells you? What?
Rebuilt our military.
A catastrophe? So we need $2.5 trillion in new military spending in case of a catastrophe. Dude, you are the catastrophe.
New missiles. New
U.S. versus Assad's troops yesterday? Right.
New rockets and new tanks and new everything.
Oh, thank you, Bud Bet.
New everything.
Hold on. Hey, Siri, stop. What was that? It got a weird request.
All made in the USA. And we...
No, it isn't. F-35 is made in 7 different markets. It's spread out over the Allies. One of the reasons why we were able to pay for a thing like that was because that's an Allied airplane. F-35s are used all over the world. They're our primary design, but they're made, like guidance systems and all kinds of other shit are made in like 6 different countries and made in 7 different countries so that they can all make money off of it because they all need them. And the production on them is ridiculous.
We've upgraded incredibly our nuclear capability, and
oh, good. Thank God.
Some of our nuclear needed nourishment. It needed
more hamster food. It needed more. What did it need? More gerbil juice, nourishment. Where's Trump? He's bottle feeding a nuke in the back. Just nourishment. Someone. All right. Who forgot to water the nukes? Jesus Christ, look at these wilty leaves.
New strength, and we've upgraded it very, very significantly.
And by the way, thanks for coming over to Twitch. I'm sorry about the YouTube thing, you guys. I adore you. I will get back on there eventually, but we'll see. But for the time being, twitch.tv/AlSparks is the way to help the show, or you can become a Patreon supporter or all that stuff. I don't like doing the commercials, so I'm not going to. The links are always there. Just enjoy the show.
I mean, to a level that nobody would even believe. And
I don't believe it anyways. Like, why would I believe you? Why would anybody believe anything this asshole says?
Hopefully we don't. You pray to God we never have to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Okay. But we've never been in a position where we've been this strong. Please.
Well, yeah, why? Why? We're not in a Cold War anymore. So why the volume of nukes? I'll tell you why. Do you want to know why we've replenished our nuclear arsenal? Do you want to know the single reason why? It isn't because Russia has some super missile that's going to get over here quickly, so we're in a mild arms race with them. There's that stuff dicking around. Mostly the worry is that anything Russia has eventually ends up on a truck in Kazakhstan and disappears. That's, and those are all the kind of nukes that make their way into America on a boat, not through the air. It's because of North Korea. That's it. I mean, we're building faster missiles and missile defense systems 100% because this asshole's been dicking around with Kim Jong-un all the while they've been building up their arsenal. That's it. Basically, they're waiting for, we've got eyes on, from space and every other place, on the heaters when the engines go, on the silos we know of in that country. We've got nukes, within a couple of miles. And they're just going to dust the whole friggin' place. And China's trying to keep a leash on them so that they're not downwind from the greatest nuclear test America has done since the Cold War. That's what that is.
Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you about the Middle East.
There's not going to be a Chinese nuclear war. They're doing economic war. You're not going to kill your R&D department.
I have a couple questions. You mentioned that other countries are interested in following suit
yes,
after the
having to do with UAE and Israel.
Exactly.
Yeah, what? Qatar?
So do you expect
the place we already have a base?
that Saudi Arabia will join? And
I do.
Yes. And also the...
Yeah, they will eventually. You know why? Because they have no oil and no money. Saudi Arabia is cash poor. They're screwed. They tried to Venezuela their oil industry last year and there were no takers. And Saudi Arabia is throwing money down a well. Saudi Arabia will eventually come to, like Israel and Europe and just like every other country that isn't sitting on oil. The minute you're no longer sitting on a guaranteed source of income and that you can get out, all of a sudden you got to start behaving. It's amazing. Yeah, the UAE, I mean, that's basically a giant Middle Eastern version of the Cayman Islands is what the UAE is.
Interest in the F-35. Do you think that should be something that they could look forward to in the future? Is there some sort of time delay?
I think, look, they've definitely got the money to pay for it. It's
so why not give it to them? Hey, if they've got money, I mean, who gives a shit what they're going to use it for? You know what I mean? This asshole is just a gun runner now.
Nice, because usually when a lot of times we make deals, they don't have 10 cents, these countries we deal with.
What?
We give it to them like, how about paying us back later? But they never pay because they don't have the money.
You're talking about allies we have a NATO relationship with, and that stuff is on like lease loan, like how the British got weapons to fight the Nazis. Because the benefit of having a functioning European ally structure is financially positive for the United States, whereas having Russia own all of the industries in Europe would not be. It's a little hard to run a business when you have to filter every piece of business you do with Europe through a Russian oligarch with Balthorium G in his pocket.
Now they have the money, and they would like to order.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Lend-Lease, beg your pardon. Did I say lease-lend? Yeah.
Quite a few F-35s. It's the greatest fighter jet in the world, as you know, by far. Stealth. Totally stealth. You can't see it.
There's one right above me right now. We use them in Space Force. They just float around you all the time. The QAnon people know. A bunch of QAnon people fly F-35s just so they can get to the pedophiles faster. I mean, not to arrest them, to say hi, because, like I said earlier, all the QAnon people are pedophiles.
Makes it...
Not all of them. That's not fair. Not all QAnon people are pedophiles. I know that. Some of them are baby eaters.
Very difficult. I was asking a pilot, what do you think is better?
Jennifer's wearing an F-35 right now. You just can't see it. It's like a little pendant.
This one, that one. Talking about Russian planes, Chinese planes. He said, well, the advantage we have is you can't see it. So
how do you find it on the runway then? What's the matter, Captain? I don't know. All of our pilots are walking around the runway. Just where the hell did the F-35 go? I can't even see it.
When we're fighting, they can't see us.
On radar. Jesus Christ. Does he really think we have a... yeah, and it isn't stealth. You're right, 80s girl. That's a bigger fish to fry in general. Yeah, he just bought one. He thinks it's Wonder Woman's plane. Yeah. This is so goofy.
Sounds like a really big advantage to me. To these
Don't
guys,
want them
you know,
to
they
have
look, by the way, I said to these pilots that I
Great. Tell us a story about them. Let me guess. One of them says, sir.
meet, they look better than Tom Cruise. And they
Huh?
definitely tougher. And he's a nice
What the fuck do you have against Tom Cruise?
guy. But these people...
What the hell? What? Why would you drag Tom Cruise into this? What does this have to do with anything? I meet these pilots and they look better than Tom Cruise. He's a nice guy, but they're tougher. By the way, if you haven't seen Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, it's the greatest sci-fi film of the last 30 years. Period, end of story. Awesome movie. Just own it. I mean, I enjoy Oblivion too. I have to be completely honest. I cried at the end of Oblivion. The second time I saw it. The first time, I was a little aggravated and it felt like a Twilight Zone episode that was really long. But after I allowed myself to get into it, the next time, tears running down my face.
And I speak to them a lot about it. What do you think, as I go around to the various places? I saved the big one in Florida as an example. That was a big one, knocked down pretty much by the hurricane. So...
The what?
I spent a lot of time on that, and it's the greatest plane in the world.
There was a plane that was knocked down by the hurricane?
One thing about that kind of thing, technology...
By the way, Cruise is a pilot and is a hell of a pilot, Christina. I mean, he's not military, but in those situations where, they would draft people if we were attacked, if this was 1941, Cruise would be frontline material. He would be first wave.
Technology, greatest plane doesn't last long. Somebody comes up with something else, but we're always the one to come up with something else. So, they'd like to buy F-35s. We'll see what happens. It's under review, but...
it's a dumb idea. No.
Made a great...
No. They can have F-15s. If they need help, we'll send in F-35s. You don't get to have them.
Advanced.
You don't get to take them, dismantle them, reverse engineer them, hanging out with Russia or the Chinese, and go through the guidance systems and everything and find out a way to hack them. Are you stupid? No.
In peace in the Middle East. Even the New York Times thought it was an incredible deal. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, and then 2 days later, the Israelis bombed Gaza.
Tom Friedman had a very nice thing to say about it. I spoke to him about it. He thought it was terrific. And
then it fell apart?
It is terrific. I see a lot of countries coming in fairly quickly. And when you have them all in, ultimately Iran will come in too. There'll be peace in the Middle East. That'll be enough.
No. No. I believe there can be peace in the Middle East. It's not going to happen like this. This is silly. If you're hinging peace in the Middle East on whether or not Benjamin Netanyahu suspends expansion in Gaza, piss off.
Iran will be very...
Oh, yeah, Mr. Nobody is great.
...neutralized. They never thought this could have happened. And with the horrendously stupid Iran deal signed by Obama, this could have never happened.
It has nothing to do with it. The UAE allowing flights to and from Israel for financial reasons? That's like saying, I finally got the Cayman Islands to allow flights from Florida.
They're so...
On the Goodyear issue, you ride on Goodyear tires in the presidential limousine.
Correct.
If there were an alternative, would you want those tires swapped out?
Yeah, I would do that. I would swap them out based on what I heard. We'll see what happens. Look, you're going to have a lot of people not wanting to buy that product anymore.
Yeah, and a lot of people who will. My next tires are Goodyears.
And they'll buy from a competitor. Made it in the USA.
You mean a foreign competitor?
Please.
Who? Firestone?
President, excerpts from Obama's speech that he'll give later at the Democratic convention show that he says that he hoped that you would take being president more seriously once you had the job and discover reverence for democracy. And then he said, I quote, but he never did. What is your reaction?
Yeah, he hates democracy. That's what the joking about staying in for 20 years is all about.
When I listen to that and then I see the horror that he's left.
The horror. When I see the horror that he's left after 3.5 years of my presidency, if Obama wasn't in Portland and Chicago just causing all these shootings.
Yes, the stupidity of the transactions that he made. Look what we're doing. We have our great border wall. We have security. We have...
No one coming in because a disease is killing more people in our country than any industrialized country in the world.
The UAE deal, which has been universally praised.
Yeah, everybody loves it. As long as you don't go on Al Jazeera or look at any of the Middle Eastern Twitter feeds or any of those organizations that actually speak to people in the Middle East. Yeah, universally praised.
People that aren't exactly fans of Donald Trump for various reasons. I don't know why. It can't be my personality, but they're not fans, right? And when I look at what we have...
I love his... this exaggerated sense of self that sometimes he goes like, it can't because they hate my personality. I have a great personality. He's trying to be braggadocious, but he can tell that nobody likes him. And again, for the record, this guy has no friends. None. He has sycophants and followers and people who can make money off of him for the time being, but he can't wait to jettison them at any turn. Jared's always being raked over the coals, and he's the closest thing that he has to a confidant right now. Why would you, looking at Michael Cohen and what he went through, why would you be friends with this guy? Why would you make a deal with this guy? Why would you ever trust this guy around your wife or girlfriend, for Christ's sake? Or your mom, or your sister, or your daughter? What? And the only people that would be like that are people who themselves are incapable of having friendships.
Now look at how bad he was, how ineffective a president he was.
Terrible.
He was so...
The ACA, the stock market going from 6,400 to 19,600.
Effective.
We've been through this.
So terrible. slowest growing recovery in the history, I guess, since 1920.
Yeah, it was a frigging recovery. It was the Great Recession. What are you going to compare it to? The dot-com bust? It upended the entire financial sector, and he still saved it.
9 on the economy. Don't forget, until the China virus came in.
You were living off of his ongoing positive growth? I mean, do we have to go back to his ridiculous chart about car production that was going like this, went down because of production stopping because of COVID, and went back up and is slightly lower than where it was because they're getting to the orders that were in place before they stopped? And eventually it's going to drift down because the new orders aren't coming in because of the used car numbers that he keeps lifting up. And for the record, that chart goes all the way back up, butts up to 2016, and it looks like this. It's a total stiff. You know what it was before that? 2 years, exactly like that, and then it was going down because in 2008 it took a shit too. So Obama builds it all the way up, basically stabilizes for how many cars you can expect to sell with a country this size and an export system that big, the generalized idea of who in the world can afford to buy American cars at the quality level that they are, those human beings, and the limitation of the volume of those people, and it just zips right along at that number. And it jags every so often when the government buys a bunch of cars or everything ditches out. But basically, it's a steady number. And there's probably a gradual rise that's like a 10, 15, 20-year rise because of the expansion of markets to other countries and people starting to buy stuff. But it's pretty much like this. It just steady and chugs along. They know how many they're making. They know how many they're selling. All that stuff. Meanwhile, it's lower under him. It didn't go up. It's the exact same friggin' number, and he's bragging about used car sales.
The greatest economy in the history of the world. And now we're doing it again. I'm going to have to do it a second time. We're doing it again. Hard to believe. We're doing very well. You heard the numbers. They're way, way down on the virus.
No, they're not.
But when you look at...
Ask Tennessee how it's going.
The kind of numbers that...
86% of counties or jurisdictions, depends on what phrase he uses, were either stable or going down 3 days ago. Now, 80% are, meaning, A, they're stable. There's still steady rise in cases across all of them, but 6% of them are going up now.
Producing on the stock markets. We're almost at the level. In fact, NASDAQ and S&P are higher than they were at their highest point prior to the China virus coming in.
Yeah, because foreigners all over the world and rich people in the United States are putting their money into growth stocks that are attributed to the lockdown, essentially. People are buying into Amazon, who you hate. Amazon stock is $3,000 a share. Is that the most recent one? We can follow up on that as well. $3,000 a share. I have no Amazon stock, so I'm not calling any of this, but let's look at that right now, just since he's bragging about this all the time. $3,261 a share. It is, I think, by far the most expensive, certainly mainstream stock that there is. The one he hates the most, Christ. Oh, thanks, Reva. I mean, this is absurd. Amazon stock is at $3,000 a share. Apple just hit a $2 trillion market share. Why do you think it doubled its value in a year? Largely because when people shift to working at home because they can't go out because they'll die, they work digitally. And people, when they have to invest, go, do I pay for an office or do I get a better phone? That's what's happening. This is, and when the split comes, Jennifer, Apple's going to do a 4-share split. And, 4 shares for every 1 share. So their $400 stock price will go to $100 per share, about $109 if they divide it evenly. Those will immediately go up to $150, $200 because a lot of people believe in the company and they're going to buy. They can't afford a $400 stock certificate, but they'll buy a $100 one. That's a gift. You can give that to a kid as like a bond that they can hang on to for a while. So they're going to, I mean, the companies he hates the most have thrived during this. Real estate, home real estate is thriving. Office real estate, malls, big buildings, they're taking a huge shit. And it's because, and it's directly correlated to Amazon and Apple's rise. This asshole doesn't even know his own goddamn industry.
Plague coming in. Now, President Obama did not do a good job, and the reason I'm here is because of President Obama.
Why? If he could have run again, he would have won again.
And Joe Biden, because...
No, not at all.
If they did a good job, I wouldn't be here.
No, Russia helped you beat Hillary Clinton. And everything was going so well that people were like, well, I could flip a coin. There were a bunch of those assholes around. You don't have those people right now because you have cratered this friggin' country. So you don't have a lot of those fence-sitting Jill Stein assholes sitting around. There were a bunch of them. You know why? Because everything was working so well and on a trajectory and up towards stabilization. They'd forgotten the lesson of Bush 2, which was, you know, well, Clinton got it together, you know, we're running a surplus, things are starting to work, it's all right, you know, maybe I'll take a chance on this dipshit cowboy who I'd like to have a beer with. And then his response to 9/11 cost the country $6 trillion. It's the dumbest political blunder in history, according to you. That's because people took the Clinton economy and Gore for granted.
And probably if they did a good job, I wouldn't have even run. I would have been very happy. I enjoyed my previous life very much.
Yeah, you ran because it was the job they were doing and not the color of the guy who was winning. And the fact that he slammed you and embarrassed the shit out of you. You ran to make noise. It just happens to be that the Republicans he was running against were, to the man, duds. And Russia decided they would rather have a chaos agent in office than Hillary Clinton.
It's such a bad...
What a great opportunity to scuttle democracy by helping this asshole get the wheels of power. I mean, the dude's dismantling the post office, for Christ's sake.
...job that I stand before you as president. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Look at the energy. That's just, I mean, the excitement, the verve, the vim, the vigor. His Secret Service guy doesn't even want to look him in the face as he's leaving. Super exciting. Look at that. And just on his way out the door. Just look at it. Dead inside. Not talking to anybody. None, you know. Does anybody else like notice that? Because when he used to leave, he had, you know, there'd at least be like a hand flicker or something about somebody, you know. But on this way out, like...
And probably if they did a good job, I wouldn't have even run. I would have been very happy. I enjoyed my previous life very much.
Republicans always run against Democrats to try and lower their taxes because they view the country like renters as opposed to people who have a mortgage. Democrats view the country like we have a mortgage. We want to stay. We're going to build a life. We want to pay for it to be reasonable. We want to extrapolate the costs of actually running it well over as long a period as possible, and then make sure that the money that's coming in goes to upkeep to make sure the place doesn't fall to shit. Meanwhile, Trump and all of his buddies view it like an apartment that they can get out of, they can get their security deposit back on by filling the screw holes in the walls with toothpaste.
But they did such a bad job that I stand before you as president.
It's amazing how Obama's popularity post-president is only rivaled by Jimmy Carter.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Watch this walk off. This is, and remember, Sleepy Joe is the sales point. Look at that flop, flop, flop.
1,000 dead.
Christ. Just numb nothing. Let me get the door. Christ. I mean, honestly, I'm not... Because, you know, you guys, we've watched this over and over and over again. Like, we've seen this bullshit. He sells this every day. It's always the same bullshit and the same lies. Although he has dropped the VA choice lie. Have you noticed that? We hammered it like crazy. I tweeted it every time I could when it came up. And then, was it Paul Reed? Awesome. Asks him about it. And he drifted. He like did a drive-by, like muscle memory drive-by of the stuff we've done for the VA, veteran, and then he just went to something else. It's just very telling. But even at the end of these, at least he would kind of walk off with some pissed vim and vigor. This is a moping asshole. When you don't scuttle the post office during a pandemic when most people want to vote by mail, not because they're lazy, but because they don't want to die or give a disease to anyone. And most of your voters, by the way, are older. Like, Republican voters skew older than anybody. And if you're telling them, no, you gotta show up in person, Grandma, while you're in the highest death ratio of, as far as danger. You're going to tell these folks that in Florida and Arizona? And just look at the boom, 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 walking out the door. Holy God. This is, I want to see if, I'm just going to check something while we're here, because then I got to get back to more shooting and stuff like that. I've got crazy stuff I'm going to be working all night. I know it. I'm going to be pulling an all-nighter. It's going to be insane. But, and we're not doing I'm not doing Kelly McEnany's anytime when we've got these things. And by the way, and I also want you guys to be able to hop off and go watch the DNC and all that kind of stuff. It's very exciting tonight. Look forward to seeing Kamala Harris's speech. I loved the Jill Biden stuff last night. I thought it was sweet that he came in and like, hi, I'm Jill Biden's husband. Run-of-the-mill, family-oriented entertainment, but as it goes, kind of nostalgic and sweet in this situation. I like it a lot. And tonight should be pretty good. And then, finalize it tomorrow. And the RNC is going to look like an ad for Purge 6. I like the DNC. I don't get to watch all of it because I'm busy working, and I've got so much shit to do. But in this particular case, there were a bunch of nice moments, and I got to see chunks of them. I went downstairs, and I should have gotten back to work, but I actually got pulled into it. I actually sat down and was interested, which I think was a really good sign. So, yes, but who wants to hear Hillary? I'd listen to Hillary. And Bill Clinton fresh massage pics. Yeah, did you read the article, Laura Nami? Because in the article, the woman who's in the pictures was 22 years old, said she instigated that, and that he was nothing but a gentleman and never heard anything about him messing around with any of the girls, which is the first new news I've heard about him flying on the plane ever. Was her particularly saying it. If we're going to believe all women, we got to do it when they also say that somebody didn't do something, one would think. But in the meantime, Trump is all too happy to wish Ghislaine Maxwell well as she fights her sex trafficking charge in jail. But again, this is something that happens and something you deal with the QAnon folks, is the world's largest pedophile group gathering online. So it's going to be it'll be a tough one. And all the lovely folks over is there Facebook? Yeah. But the RNC, the RNC is going to be madness. It's going to be ridiculous. Bill Clinton was framed by Newt and the Republicans in monstrous ways, honestly. Well, he had a consensual affair with an adult. And to pair it with the fact that Donald Trump currently has a case against him from a minor, but they're all just, yeah. How are you going to broadcast live the debates? I will. I will be live. I will take the debates live. And it will be hard to, go piece by piece. I think I might talk over them a little bit and then go back to pieces. I'm trying to figure out the format so that we don't turn a 90-minute debate into a 4-hour show. mean, even though that's how people do it, I don't want to go through sentence by sentence, and I want people to watch the whole thing and then be able to do it. So that kind of stuff. Yeah, the RNC is going to be embarrassing. There's going to be a bunch of stuff about the border. They're going to talk about how the Democrats want open borders, which they don't. We don't. You want a manageable immigration system. You want to recognize the importance of asylum seekers and refugees, but you also want to work with the countries they're coming from so that you're not getting a torrent of them, because if you have to stem the tide there, not blame people for escaping. You know, sensible adult shit. But we will see this. Yeah, I like that you can pause. Well, good. I may do it that way since that's how I do this show. But in the meantime, you know, I will back and forth about it, but I'm definitely going to do them. I mean, understand that. And I want to thank you guys for hopping over here and joining me at Twitch because of the YouTube thing. I'll let you guys know as soon as I can be back over there, and I will post the shows with some regularity as best I can when I'm not working like crazy. As soon as I finish the show, I'll try to download it and then post it. Twitch allows me to do that now. So if I can do that, I'll bounce it through there. We'll see. So anyways, thank you guys so much. Thanks for the bits and the follows and the subscriptions. Should we do a hype train out the door? We got 222 people in the Twitch right now. You have to understand, like 2 weeks ago, we had like 14 regularly. That's pretty impressive. And I thank you guys for making the hop over, because we normally had, 300 to 400 people in the regular YouTube all by itself, much less the torrent of Facebook folks or whatever. So if you're on Facebook or Periscope and you want to help out, you can become a member on the Facebook page if that's the only place you're going to hang out. On Periscope, you can send super hearts and all that kind of stuff, which really helps. I haven't figured out how yet, but it does apparently. And then if you absolutely can in any other way, become a Patreon subscriber. We're looking for that 500th. We're at 3 something now, 334, something like that, 335, depending on day to day. And every little bit helps. If you can't do anything, do not worry about it. When I do these pitches to drive the station, because I can't tour, I can't shoot, production is shut down. I got a 9-year-old to feed. I'm making a living, and I'm providing a service, and you get to buy me a cup of coffee, once a month in exchange. There's a lot of programming for very little. So, yes, Ninka, you were a Twitch regular. You can teach everybody. You know that. So yeah, we've had a couple of trolls on Twitch, but since you have to kind of pony up to be there, it's a little more refined, I will say. But either way, if you can help. If you can't, don't worry about it. And I want to thank everybody at the PayPal. We've gotten, because we can't super chat, a bunch of people have started giving it paypal.me/HalSparks, which is lovely. And you can also, like I said, you can watch this feed and the chat. I think I'm going to update this, but at halsparks.live, which is the Streamlabs version of the Twitch feed. So when I have time after I've done with the sexy liberal stuff, I will catch up with that stuff. You guys are awesome. I will see you later. Take care of yourself and enjoy the new theme song that I wrote, and we'll let it play ourselves out, and I will try to get about my work and not end up just dancing the whole time. Because, yeah, I might pitch shift this down a octave.
Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time?
I don't know. Does this have a name? The Sparks theme, I guess?
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
I'll see if I can release a version of it in case anybody wants it. Tech Noir? Yeah, totally.
Wildlife, refuges. I mean, you look at this, you look at what we do with our wildlife. I do it because I have, a good memory, because I'm cognitively there.
Sparks Night? I like it. The Sparks Night? The Sparks Night Rises? We'll figure it out. It's very fledged. That's why I like it. Very Beverly Hills Cop. Very Harold Faltermeyer.
That was really cool, by the way.
Do we get a copyright strike if we play it? No, I'll figure out some way to work around that. Release on Amazon? Okay.
give us that again. Can you do that again? And you go person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Captain's log.
I don't know if I release a version with and without sound effects. Noel, thank you so much. Sláinte. Love to all my people in Ireland, and Scotland, and England.
Listen, Betty, don't start off with your white zone shit again.
Did you have shade?
Sparks to Electric Boogaloo.
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said,
Thanks, Dave.
The golden rule. He who has the goal makes the rules.
All right, I'm out. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for all the support. PayPal me. Donate on the HouseSparks.live page, please. See you at the Sexy Liberal Show, too.
You're like a Kentucky Fried Idiot.
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
Groovy.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Hey, Wales. People in Wales, all right.
I'm rich and I'm dead sexy.
I'll use small words that you'll be sure to understand, you warthog-faced buffoon.
I'm a land farmer, motherfucker!
To be a moron. To be Morocco. An imbecile. Like the dumbest motherfucker that ever lived.
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said,
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me.
I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said,
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I'm just a happy camper.
Hail to the king, baby.
It's good to be the king.
I'm your Huckleberry.
So that's the kind of fight it's gonna be.
Sorry, I farted.
You are physically repulsive, intellectually retarded, vulgar, insensitive, selfish, stupid. You have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell